and share my screen so you guys can see your presentation. Oh, I closed stuff up. Hold on a second here. Trying to go between things. I opened and closed my things. Here we go. All right. All right. So, welcome everybody. Like I mentioned, we are starting our Humane Communities presentation right now for safety net fostering. So, this is a lovely topic. We have some lovely guests joining us as well. But we're going to kind of share the information here between us. So, you'll hear a couple people talk as we move through here. So, I'm actually going to give you guys a minute. If you know anything about safety net fostering, if you want to drop just anything you've heard or know in the chat and just let us know kind of what you think it is, or if you've done it yourself, or if you just, are aware of it in any way, I'd love to hear what you guys already know. So feel free to drop something in the chat there. And if you don't know anything, that's great too. You can say that. I still have people jumping into the meeting. That's great. All right. Allie, did you get any responses in the chat?
Nope, nothing yet.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Oh, Jen says this is a program for pets that need temporary care. Yep, Tanis, you are completely right. I believe it's fostering for family who need temporary placement for their pets. Yep.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank
Oh,
you, Linda.
yes,
Linda
I
is
see.
a safety net foster.
Love it, love it. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that we're just going to get into today. So our objectives are, what is safety net fostering? We want to tell all of our volunteers and fosters just what this program is about, give you a good understanding of what it is and why we have it, how our clients enter this program. So it is limited to certain situations that we want to offer to our community. So we want to talk about how we kind of get those people to come to us and what the restrictions or the requirements are for that. How you can become a foster. So this is important for you. If anybody in our group today is interested in doing this, whether you want to become a foster for, our animals in shelter or our normal foster role, or if you're interested in helping with the safety net fostering, both are super important and we both could use more help in either one, and how you can spread the word for that. And then how just volunteers can help. So whether you can be a safety net foster or not, there's plenty of ways that you can help us through this. So we want to give those resources to you. Okay. So I've got a couple members of the team with me today, but here's the people that you're going to mostly hear talk about this throughout our organization. So we have our foster department, which you may be familiar with, Laura Niffen and Marissa Lane. Marissa is on the call with us today, and she will be talking with us. And then from our community advocates team, we have Brianna Dobbs talking, and she'll be a big support. And you might actually see her at some tabling events or our community events. She's often at those partnering with us and having volunteers nearby. So feel free to say hi when you do see her. Okay, and with that, I'm going to hand it over.
So safety net fostering through Michigan Humane is designed to provide short-term housing for eligible animals in need of temporary care, all with the goal of reuniting the owner with their pet. That is the general big overarching goal of the program. Can you go to the next slide, please? So why do we offer this service? I'm going to introduce myself a little bit in the work that I did prior to coming to Michigan Humane. I am a master's level social worker, coming from working over a little over 10 years in the behavioral health and mental health field. And a great need that I saw was clients needing care or wanting to seek care for themselves and not having a place for their pet to go. And in many instances, that pet was more than a pet. We know this, but that was their only support. So I kind of came across this position and the safety net program that Michigan Humane was doing and was like, I need to do this. Um,
You guys could just make sure you have your mutes on. Sorry about that, Bree.
That's okay. So I am really, really passionate and excited about this work. And I can tend to ramble on a little bit, so feel free to ask any questions. So why do we offer this service? Keep families together. We are looking to increase pet retention and reduce surrenders to the shelters, while also concentrating on the human animal bond and the wellness of both the human and the animal component. And that is a lot of the work that my team, the community advocates, do, and all of us do at Michigan Humane. But specifically with the safety net program, it is really maintaining that human animal bond for people with their furry family members. Go to the, thank you. So what is some criteria for entering this program? There's a great need for this program. I'm sure most of you are aware. Thank you, Linda, for fostering. We do have limited space for this program. And we really try to focus on, sorry, I'm being distracted by, I think, a high-low in the background. It's very loud. So criteria to enter this program. For clients to participate, it is really intended to be a short-term program, maximum of 90 days. While we do everything we can to support the owner through that time. Okay. Gonna restart. Sorry.
You're
So the program does have limited space. So we really want to focus on participants that will be able to reclaim within those 90 days and are really, really determined to maintain ownership of their animals. We would like to help everybody. But just due to the limitations, and it really is meant for people that are really, really, really working to keep their animals with themselves. And you can't hear the forklift. That is really great. The forklift is very loud in my brain, which it wasn't before the meeting started. So I apologize. And we really work with participants to be open-minded during the process. Well, we look for solutions to maintain ownership of them long term. That might look different kind of for folks. But we do, before they even enter the safety net program and get on the safety net waiting list, that's good. Thank you, guys. We work with them very intentionally to see what we can do to offer support in that time before entering the safety net program. I'm just trying to get that across to everybody that we really do, whether that's pet food, vet care, human food, human referrals, which I know I go into a little bit later on. But it's really meant for people that they have no other resources. They don't have any other way to maintain ownership of their animals. I think I've talked about that enough. We can go to the next slide. Sorry.
okay.
So some of the limitations with the foster home or with the program is the number of available foster homes. We do have a considerable amount of requests for placement of the animals of pets, but we are limited in our ability to temporarily provide care due to foster home availability. So one thing that is really helpful is spreading the word of fosters and fosters who can support people's individual situations. Well, I know I stressed on the previous slide that the program is 90 days. There can be times when an owner may need like 90 days plus a week kind of thing. And just having that being willing to work with the owner as they're working through whatever situation they're happening in their life, crisis.
Mind if I add something, Bree?
Please do.
Yeah, so one of the reasons foster homes can be a limitation for animals entering the program is because that's the only way that we can accept the cats or dogs into it is if we have a foster home available. We don't want to really bring these friends into the shelter environment, and there's many reasons for that. One of those being is the shelter is very, very stressful, and these pets are already going through something that's traumatic for them. They're going to be away from their owner for a set period of time. And so we want to minimize that stress as much as possible and make sure that animals are going to be really well cared for. And that's not to say that we can't provide really good care in the shelter setting, but there are limitations to what we can do. And shelters can really be a breeding ground for disease transmission. So while we do a really great job of keeping the shelter clean and making sure we're treating animals that come in with any illnesses, when the immune system gets stressed, animals are more susceptible to picking up things. So we think of a shelter as like kids in the daycare or being in a hospital setting, like high risk population, right? Coming into the doors because they're going through some sort of traumatic experience, being separated from their family can be that. Um, so their immune systems are going to be more at risk for picking up parasites or kennel cough or anything else that might come through the shelter that can really put these pets at risk. And while these pets temporarily belong to us, they're not Michigan Humane. So we're wanting to make sure we keep them in the safest environment possible. So the third reason that I think we don't want to bring these pets into the shelter environment is really due to lack of space and being a long-term stay. So like we talked about, the program is usually for about a 90-day placement. I mean, sometimes it can be shorter, sometimes it can be extended if there's special circumstances or situation. And the community advocates team, as well as the foster team, work really, really closely with the owners to figure out what that right time limit or extension approval, if that's going to go through. But space is really a struggle for us in the shelter. So 90 days for an animal without a movement in the shelter can be bad for a number of reasons. We just talked about exposure to illnesses and disease. Then we're talking about the strain on their mental well-being as well. So that's something we're constantly battling with our shelter pets that don't have, an owner or a place for them to go to until we find a new family to adopt them. They're struggling with things like being kept in a kennel and kennel decline and making sure they get enough exercise and mental stimulation. And so we really don't want to put those extra stresses and pressures on these dogs. And we need to make sure that we have enough space to house them. If we put every dog or cat that was looking for a safety net home into the shelter, every single kennel would be filled. And so I think that's what Bree was trying to talk about on the last slide is it really is case by case and dependent, and our limitations is because there's only so many resources to go around. So we have to be really, really selective of the pets that come in and make sure that they are going to fit our program and be safe in a foster home. As well as have a place that they can go to afterwards. Otherwise, then someone must well surrender their pet long term to Michigan Humane if they're not going to be able to reclaim them after that. So I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, but just wanted to add why that foster homes need to be available before we can accept an animal in.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. That is a really good point. The animals are entering into the shelter can be very stressful for them at any point. And when we're talking about limitations to the program, location can also be a limitation because the intake appointments do happen at our Westland and our Detroit shelters. So fosters and the pet parent would also have to be able to attend that appointment, which my team, the community advocates, do assist with transportation on a limited basis. I will say we do occasionally get requests for folks statewide. So there is a very large net of folks that are utilizing the service. But we can't necessarily help if they are 4 hours away. So just thinking about that when referring folks. Also the timeline for these situations. Going back to the case by case basis, there are folks that will contact us that, they have some time. It may be a scheduled medical appointment kind of thing. It's very time limited. We have time to schedule. There's other times that are more crisis emergency situations. So having an available foster very quickly can be helpful in placing. To the next slide. So supporting both ends of the leash, which is a lot of what I do when I work with, well, everyone is doing this program, but I work really intentionally with the owners who are in the safety net program to maintain ownership of their animal, to retain their family member with them, which can look different depending for everybody. And it really is about keeping an open mind with the individual. Now there's some really loud banging. I don't know. Um, Keeping an open mind, working with everybody involved, and building rapport with that client. To have them bring us into the conversation and really tell us what is happening so that way we can provide adequate referrals that will really assist them in whatever is going on that led them to us. So that could be they might need housing support, human sheltering. It could be a medical crisis or planned care, some type of surgery where somebody doesn't have additional supports and they just really need care for a couple weeks for their animal. We will provide physical resources as well, such as crates. Sometimes we'll get referred an individual to safety net. And upon talking to them, we can kind of problem solve and keep their pet with them through other means. Maybe it's a family member, a friend, maybe it's providing them crate and a crate for their animal to keep with them. A lot of education as well, talking about sharing with folks what the shelter environment is like, because there is, I know when I'm talking to clients, we do get asked that question, can you please house them in the shelter? And it's like, the space, also the environment is not good, and providing that education to clients of the shelter environment and ways that they can go work with their animal in their own home if they are being created for a longer period of time to maintain ownership. But giving them those resources and that knowledge and providing them with enrichment exercises and things like that for their dog or their cat, what have you. Also do a lot with human and pet food. And honestly, it is whatever the client is going through. We talk and we listen, and we do what we can to support them and their animals and maintain ownership. And we check in with folks weekly. So we are talking to them weekly to make sure to just check in with them, make sure they're doing all right, see what we can do, see if they need, another referral for the next step. But really being that support to that person.
Yeah, so it sounds like
Um,
there's a lot going on then. People aren't just dropping off their animal to us. There's a whole process involved with
Yes.
this. And we're really trying to get to understand what that person or what that owner's troubles are so we can make sure that we're assisting them through that entire time to help them get back on their feet. So it's not just helping them with their pet, it's really helping with their whole situation. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. 100% right. Um, Not just helping with their pet. Generally, it is some sort of human need that brought them to us for a need for their animal. So being able to support them through that and get that need taken care of so that way they can join their pet again is what it's all about.
I would love to add something here if you don't mind. Um, I know we are mentioning over and over again, keeping an open mind for these people who, need to keep an open mind of what their options are, but also for ourselves. I think it's really important to kind of keep that in mind. I think it's sometimes really easy to think if we've talked about this, right? We've had our previous humane communities where we've talked about surrender scenarios and why people choose to surrender and the hardships that they go through, and that people don't want to get rid of their pets. For the most part, that's the last thing that they want to do. They love these animals. And sometimes it's just a lack of knowing that these programs exist. That's why we're telling you guys about it right now, is because how many times have you guys talked to people when you're out volunteering and you're like, oh, we have a program that does that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that you did something like that. Same thing goes with this. If someone's going through a hardship, they might not know that these housing, supports exist. They might not know that this food exists. So a lot of it is also coming from you guys when you do mention these programs that we offer. That could be something that helps keep an animal in their home that they just didn't know existed. So I just wanted to throw that out there because you guys are supporting this without knowing that you're supporting this sometimes, just by talking about the programs that we offer and hopefully keeping them out of situations that they don't want to be in.
So how do clients come to us? Through a variety of ways. If generally through the call center can take down everybody's information. They have access to this safety net application, which goes through all of the rules, kind of specifications, criteria for the program, what to be expected. We do, however, get referrals from all departments within Michigan Humane, and walk-ins too with folks. I um which sometimes they're a great fit for the safety net program, and we'll be able to do that. And other times they're not a fit for the safety net program, but we're still able to work with that person and provide supports to that person in way of human referrals. If it's pet food, a crate, they need kind of a leash. One thing I haven't mentioned at all, I don't know why, landlord issues too, kind of, and helping clients, not a legal resource, but helping clients navigate those situations as well a little bit. Helping folks fill
Anyone
out,
else freezing up over here?
what was that? Oh,
No, we can still hear Bree. I think it's on your end, Ashley.
oh, I think she's frozen.
Yeah, Ashley's breaking up on her end, but you're still good. I can still hear you loud and clear, Bree.
Okay. Oh,
Oh no, Ashley, we lost the internet. That's okay. That's why we have backups on here. So just pause 1 second, guys. I'm gonna pull up that presentation for us.
well, thanks for bearing with me through this. Public speaking is not my forte, but I'm working through it.
You're
Thank you
doing
guys.
great. You are doing great. Just keep breathing, and we are here to support you.
I'm really good at answering questions if anybody has any questions right now.
So I think this would be a great opportunity since it's down. You said that you serve both ends of the leash there and you're helping the human as well as the animal. So can you talk about some more specifics of helping the human side of things too?
Yeah. Gosh, I don't want to say everything is a case by case basis, but it really is because we're working with people and pets who all have their animals, we know all have their own kind of wants and needs and things as well. So it's very individualized in what the person wants, as well, but it could look like linking them to a human food pantry. It could be if that person doesn't have food at that time, providing a human food drop off, until we can get them connected to further resources for longer term supports. Um, But really, we're looking at the pet and the person as a whole and what will be beneficial for both of them in the long run.
It's me. I'm asking Allie or Helen to make me the host because I can't screen share until, and I'm not signed on our volunteer account, so it won't let me just take it over.
Yeah, I have a comment I can make while you guys are working on your technical difficulties. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Brian, cat guy at Westland. Um, yeah, I actually lost an acquaintance who didn't seek inpatient alcohol treatment for fear over losing her cat. So it's programs like these. I mean, you guys are actually saving human lives too. I don't know if you know that, but yeah, it's because people with addiction, drugs, or alcohol, eventually they kind of lose all their friends and their family by, it's just kind of what addiction does. And, the last thing they have is usually a pet in some instances. And, and then they're like, I can't go away to rehab for 3 weeks because then I don't have anybody to take care of my cat. And so, I mean, programs like these really do save lives of humans too. So I just wanted to point that out.
No, you are absolutely right. I don't know if you heard when I introduced myself. I come from working in substance use treatment. Um, my long-winded dream, I will just say this, this is what got me back to school for my MSW was because I saw such a barrier to care for people wanting to receive substance use treatment and no place for their pets to go. And that is what inspired me to go back to school for my MSW with the hope of one day opening some sort of place to do this work. But then I found this, so I'm like, okay, we'll do the safety net. But
Perfect
yeah,
fit. Yeah,
yeah,
we appreciate you. So
thank you.
yeah,
I appreciate you guys.
yeah.
Couldn't do it without
Okay,
you.
You're
without
slide
further
your back
ado,
too. Yeah.
can you guys see my screen? And we'll allow Jen to take over it.
Yep, we're
I can
good.
Perfect.
see it.
Okay, just let me know when you want me to skip ahead, Bree.
Okay, thank you. I think we're good to skip ahead.
Alrighty, there you go.
Yes. How do the clients come to us? So the call center, walk-ins, other departments, also community partners. We are working pretty closely with the continuum of care, which if you're not familiar it is the federal kind of agency for homeless services for a designated area. Wayne County has two. They have Out Wayne, and then they have one through the city of Detroit. And we have been doing some work with them, and they've contacted us for pets or for supplies for pets and stuff, or shelters, human shelters that are willing to take in emotional support animals. And things like that. Or also just connect us with folks that maybe don't want to go to the shelter, but they're looking for some sort of other support with their pets as well. We get a lot of referrals from word of mouth too, and different community outreach events where we talk about the different work that we're doing. Yeah, the work with the continuum of care, I'm really excited for. I am working with the Outwayne continuum of care to hopefully get pet included on the point in time counts for homeless folks. Sorry, sometimes I realize I'm working in animal welfare and not human services, and my brain is like, so every year in January, through the HUD, there is a homeless count of unsheltered folks through the different COCs. Some places include pets on those to get an accurate number. And that's something that we are working on to get a really clear number of pets that are really affected by homelessness in Wayne County. So that is how clients come to us.
Next slide, Allie.
Ellie, are you able to click on that video link there?
Let's say it may not
Oh.
work within the presentation. Let's see.
If not, we can always send it out after. Allie, I can also send it to you in a message if that would be helpful.
Yeah, if you guys can send it in the chat and maybe I can click on that.
Yeah. All right, there's that. If you just want to play that, and then I'm happy to jump in.
Can you see it? Beautiful.
We can't hear it though.
Allie, this is where you're gonna have to make sure that your speakers, it's a setting, are pulling through. Is that right? Oh, I think we should go ahead and just skip the link for now and just keep going through the presentation.
No problem. And now you all have that link, so you can watch that as at your leisure as well. But we can send it out for you all to look at later too. Allie, are you able to bring slides back up?
Yes. It working?
No, I don't think you're sharing your screen anymore.
Uh-oh. Okay.
While she's working on that, I'm Marissa. I'm the foster care coordinator. I see a number of our fosters in here. Thank you guys for joining us today. So if you already foster with us, you might know myself or Laura Niffen, the foster program manager. She wasn't able to be with us today, but if you reach out to us at any point, it's one of us that you'll be talking to for anything foster related. So a couple things about what it's like to foster in general and specifically for the safety net program. So for the safety net program, we have it set up this way so that we're maintaining privacy for everybody involved. So these families who are trying to stay with their pets contact the community advocates team. We get all of their information, and then we have some specific information that we send out to our fosters saying, this is the name of the animal. This is about how old, how big, these are their needs. Are they house trained? Are they crate trained? Do we think they'll need about a month in foster, potentially 2 months in foster, that sort of thing. So the owner would never get your information and you'll never get their information. We ask that any foster sends us picture updates and just gives us like little blurbs about how the pets are doing so that we can send those along to the owner, and that really does just make a world of difference. Last month I had someone who the owner reached out to us and said, this date is my cat's birthday, just thought somebody might want to know. We let the foster know, not thinking too much of it, and she threw a whole birthday party for the cat. So we were able to send pictures to the owner, and it was the most heartwarming thing. We were all crying. It was so sweet, so lovely. And it just makes a world of difference. That comfort that these families get, knowing that not just they don't have to worry about their pet right now, but also getting to see updates of their pet thriving makes it so much easier for them to get the help they need and make the progress that they need to make in order to be reunited. And it's incredibly fulfilling. Even as someone who's just kind of helping go between, it's so fulfilling and it's so wonderful to see so much love in the community. So if you were fostering, it works a lot like our normal foster program. So the daily foster list that we send out Monday through Saturday with information about shelter animals, there's also a section for safety net animals in there. So whether you're looking to foster both safety net shelter animals, or just safety net, you're getting that same list every day. And if you're interested potentially in one of the safety nets, we give you a little bit more information then once you reach out. Sometimes we're able to share, what sort of situation the family is dealing with. We've also had a number of house fires that we've helped with in the past couple of months as well. So sometimes we're able to give you a little bit more information. Of course, we don't want to share too many personal details, but we find that it can help just to know kind of what this animal has been through. A lot of, the animals have been through some trauma as well. And I know that our wonderful fosters want to know what they can to be best of service. So we provide all of these supplies that you'll need still: food, beds, blankets, toys, anything you need, we're able to get you. And they do also, so once the intake appointment is scheduled, we have our wonderful medical and behavior teams do a whole appointment. And then we reach back out to you and say, we are still on. We would still love for you to have to pick up this safety net pet. They've gotten a clean bill of health, or they maybe have something minor and we don't have any behavior concerns, or hey, we found that they don't do great interacting with cats. However, we know that you don't have cats, so we still think this is a good fit. We occasionally have to reach out and say, hey, maybe they don't get along with other dogs like we thought they might, so we're going to work on finding another foster home. But I say all that just to assure you that we, on our end, are making sure that this pet is still safe to have in your home. The end goal always is reunification. With that, we find that a lot of fosters actually find it easier to foster safety net pets, because there's no fear about, well, I don't know where this pet is going to end up. I can't guarantee that they're going to have, a safe place to land. They might be sitting in the shelter for a while longer. You know that they're going back to their loving family to be reunited, and that it can make it a little bit easier. We'd like to note that you can't share any pictures, just for the safety of the family, for everybody's privacy. We ask that you don't share anything on social media. Some of these situations that we're dealing with can be things like domestic violence. So we just like to play it safe, and we say, just in general, don't share any pictures of any safety net animals. It also sometimes makes it easier to foster safety net, because unlike shelter animals, we have a lot more information. We're speaking with the owners. So if something comes up and they don't like a flavor of food, or we're not sure what this behavior is, we can find that out. We also know going into it whether they are potty trained, crate trained, whether they love mind puzzles, or they prefer to run around outside in a backyard. It helps a lot when you kind of have this background information as well. And it just makes it a smoother process sometimes. And I know that we did have a question that I wanted to address. So if they aren't able to be reunited, the owners sign a surrender form as well once they give in, so that if anything were to happen, they do end up going up for adoption, and we always let the foster family know what's going on with that as well. You would never just be in the dark completely on that. We unfortunately had a situation recently where that was the case, and I called the foster first and let them know what was going on, so that they wouldn't be confused when they saw the pet up for adoption. And it doesn't happen very often. It feels pretty rare occasion that does happen, because Bree and her team is staying in such close contact with these owners. We've gone through processes before they enter the program to make sure that we're going to be able to assist them getting the support that they need. So it's really extenuating circumstances when that happens. And I know some of my fosters are in here, so if I'm missing anything, feel free to drop it in the chat as well if you think that might be helpful. And we are going to send you a link to sign up if you would like it. Absolutely no pressure to foster safety nets. This is a very unique experience that isn't the right fit for everybody, and that's completely okay. If you just want to share the link and let people know that this is something that we're doing, that fostering for safety nets is an option, that's wonderful. And we're always happy to answer questions as well. Ellie, Sorry, Jen.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna add, if you don't mind, I love that you shared the differences between fostering a safety net and a regular foster. Specifically, like it might be easier for some people. I have never really thought about that before because there's always the, well, I'll never be able to give them back. How do you not keep them all, or how do you give them away once they're ready to go back to the shelter? Well, this is, you're just temporarily caring for someone who has an owner and really, really wants them back. So while you care for them and you love them very much, right from the get-go that the end goal is to get them back to the owner. I kind of love that. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a number of fosters who only do safety net for that reason, especially with kittens. You know, they say, I just want to adopt them all. I can't do it. I would much rather have a safety net. Oh,
And the more information thing too is really cool about their background and stuff, because a lot of our dogs come in as strays, not necessarily owner surrenders, cats too. So it's nice to have that background, because I know that was a thing that we talked about earlier. Not all foster homes look alike. And so that could be another reason why it's hard for us to accept every request that comes in, because even though we might have a foster home available, it might not be the right foster home for that particular animal that's looking for placement. So that's really cool too. Like the more unique foster homes we have, potentially the more animals that we can help. So
yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of it. And you know, when fosters reach out and say, "Hey, I'm interested in this dog or cat," that's kind of the big thing that we talk through, is making sure that it's going to be a good fit for both you and the pet. You know, I have a couple of fosters who specifically do large dogs. I have some fosters who specifically do cats. So like Jen said, even though we have technically a safety net foster home available, doesn't mean that that pet's going to be the best fit for them, or that they're going to be the best fit for that pet. So the more people we have in this pool of safety net fosters, the better chance we have of finding somebody who is the right fit. For how long is a typical safety net fostering? That is a wonderful question. So that is something that's a little bit different than typical fostering as well. Typical fostering, we may only need you for a week or two. For safety net fostering, we ask that you commit to 1 month. Yeah, Melanie had such wonderful safety nets who have recently been reunited, who were wonderful success stories. So we ask that you keep them for at least 1 month. The reason behind that is that we want to give the owner some time to be able to get things in order so that they can successfully be reunited once they're in a better place. Now, if you get the safety net animal and for some reason it's really not a good fit, we of course get them added back onto the foster list and do everything we can to find somebody else. We'd never make you keep an animal that isn't a good fit for you, or if you aren't a good fit for that animal. That of course is a different story. But yeah, we ask for you to commit to 1 month at the beginning, and then at about the 1 month mark, we check in with the owner, you know, see how things are going. The foster team does, with the community advocate team, see if we need to extend that time, see if we're looking at reuniting anytime soon, and then we let the foster know. And if they're not able to do it for another month, that is no problem at all. We get them added back to the foster list and find somebody else for that next month. Right. I'm just reading the questions here. Are fosters required to be with pets during the day? No. Another amazing question. So for regular fostering, we say definitely not. Them being in a home environment is way better than them being in a shelter environment. They're even though people are around, they're alone during the day in the kennels, you know, so it's always better for them to be in a home environment. It's quieter, it doesn't smell as bad. It's always going to be better than the shelter. For safety nets though, too, we'd still rather have them be in a home environment with a foster than either surrendered in a shelter, you know, where they might be for a while, or you know, in a potentially stressful or unsafe situation. It depends on the situation, of course, but them being alone for 8-9 hours a day in your home while you're at work is still way better than the alternative. And honestly, that's normal for most of our fosters. They do work, you know, not all of our fosters are retired or work from home. We have plenty of people who go into work every day, and that we don't have any issues with it. If it is a scenario where they can only be alone for however many hours, we'd always tell you that ahead of time. If an animal becomes sick while in your care, you have all of our emergency contact information. So we, for our shelter animals, we would give you the same resources that we give for those. So during normal hours, you can always call the foster team. After hours, we do have an emergency vet that you would be able to use. And then for days like Sundays when the foster team isn't in, we do have staff on site and we give you their specific contact information. So there are definitely resources for that as well. You would never be on the hook for anything monetarily for that. And we provide you with any sort of emergency resources you would need.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to add. It's the same as our regular foster program. We provide all of the supplies, all the medical care. Fosters just provide the home and the love and the TLC that the animal needs while you're in care. But if they get sick, you would reach out to the lovely Marissa or Laura, and they kind of help you through that process. But that would be all things that we talk through before you get going and take an animal home, so you know exactly how to get help if you need it. But most of these animals are pretty stable, and if they do have an ongoing medical condition, that's something we make sure you know ahead of time before agreeing to take them in the home. And we would send you home with the medications and the treatment plan and all that stuff if they need it. But in general, most of the animals are ready to go. They just don't have an owner that's in a home that can care for them for the time being, for whatever one of those reasons would be, like recovering from medical or fire of their home or something of that nature. Great questions, though. Really great questions, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love you, but I have 2 dogs of my own. Yeah, again, a lot of our fosters for safety net and for shelter animals have pets of their own. So what we do is once you fill out that application, you let us know that you have a couple of dogs. It's always good to give us information of like, do they love to play? Are they like good to just kind of ignore other dogs when they're around? That helps us make sure that it's a good fit. And then once we get an animal in applying for the safety net program, we always find out, do they have experience with cats? Do they have experience with dogs? Do they love to play? Do they want to be left alone? So that we're able to pair them. A lot of times we have people who are like, my dog would love to be in a foster home where they get to play with other dogs. And so sometimes that works out ideally. So we oftentimes have a good fit for your home because we have all sorts of cases coming in. So we aren't able to do safety nets are different. For shelter animals, a lot of times we can schedule a pickup where you can just bring your dog in and it's no big deal. For safety net specifically, it can be a little bit more difficult because we really want to make sure that we have a foster lined up who we're pretty positive is going to be able to take them. So what we can do is if we know that the owner said, hey, they're good with other dogs, once they come in, the behavior team does do a dog to dog test. They make sure that they get along with other dogs. And then if we feel good about that, then you would be able to bring your dog in when you're scheduled for the pickup. We're not necessarily able to do a meet and greet where you meet first and then we move forward because these safety net animals don't actually come into the shelter until we have a foster lined up for them.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the question was, can we do a meet and greet at the shelter first before we choose to take a safety net dog home? And the answer to that is no, unfortunately not for this case. But if you were just doing fostering for shelter dogs, absolutely we can. Those animals are in our care and we have more flexibility to kind of help you get acquainted with them before you take them into your home. So we are getting really close on time. So I just want to go over, I don't know if this is the last slide, but I think I can wrap it up with this being the last slide. And then after that, if folks want to jump off, it's okay. If anybody wants to stay on and ask any questions, because we're going to be cutting it short, or getting right up to the time. And I know we did some questions throughout, but you can stay on and we can answer those as best as we can. If not, we'll make sure we get those written down and we'll send them out with a follow-up email that will go out with the recording. So thank you guys for sticking with us through our technical difficulties today. So what are the last takeaways that you guys want to know? if someone is looking for a resource because they don't want to surrender their pet and they are going through some sort of crisis, whether that seems big or small, the first step that you're going to want to have them do is call the Michigan Humane 1-866-M Humane number. So that's our call center. We have customer service reps who are trained on all the services, programs, and things that we offer to members of the public. They have a specific list of questions, and basically what they do is they start having a conversation with those people who are calling in who need support, and they're trying to diagnose exactly what the best route for that person in need to go through Michigan Humane. Is it going to be the safety net? I don't know. And so we don't want to necessarily lead someone to believe that just because you call, you're going to get a space in the safety net, but our reps will start talking to them about their unique situation and what resources we have available for them. So maybe that's just food through the pantry. Maybe that's getting them in contact with one of our community advocates like Bree to talk more about their situation. Maybe it is getting on the wait list for the safety net program. And that's for anybody who's looking for any sort of resource. The best thing they can do is call the 1-866-M Humane number to learn more information about what options are available to them. You can also share our website. There are tons of links and resources on there. We'll make sure we include that in our follow-up email as well. But you can find information about surrender. You can find information about our safety net program, our TNR program. You can find information about our pet pantry and what locations and what days we give out food throughout the community if people need those services. If you're not sure where to go, you can always reach out to some member of the volunteer team and we can pass along information to you that you can share as a resource, or we can take contact information for the person that needs help and get them in touch with a member of our call center if that's helpful to you, if you're looking to go above and beyond to support that person. Let them know that, this program is limited admission. So we can't guarantee someone, if you're having a conversation with them, if you're talking to them about the safety net program, that we're going to be able to accept their pet. There is an application process. There are going to have some conversations with our team members. But even if the safety net program isn't an option for them, we can talk about what other resources we might have that may be able to support them in this situation. Maybe they won't need to surrender. Maybe they won't need the safety net program. Our goal is always to keep pets with people first whenever we can. Surrender is a last resort. Next, we want to make sure that we're respecting people's privacy. So once an animal comes in through our program, we're not necessarily going to be able to update you if you are a person that was helping through the process about what's happening necessarily along the journey of that animal, especially if, the circumstances of that owner, that client, that animal are really sensitive. We're trying to make sure that we're holding some confidentiality for those people, respecting their privacy, making sure that we're assisting them, but maybe not necessarily putting all of their information out there if that's not something that they're comfortable with doing. So we're really trying to make sure that we are a support and a resource, but we're not necessarily putting, shame or judgment or any of that out there. And it can be really, really scary to take advantage of these programs or even reach out to ask for help. So, really less is more sometimes in conversation with people and just directing them to us so we can get them in touch with the right people that can have a really, really kind and sensitive conversation with them, so they feel comfortable, working through whatever resources or problems that they might be going through. We want to support them, not make them feel like they're alone in this, because they're certainly not. So with that, again, I don't know how. Yep. We can just go on through. We're going to share this whole recording. So be an advocate, build trust with Michigan Humane, share the fact that we have this program, share the fact that we need fosters, help us reduce misconceptions, the shame and the guilt for people who need temporary help with their pets, even if they need to surrender. There is nothing wrong with that. At least people are reaching out and looking for support rather than letting an animal loose on the street or not taking care of their animal's needs. Pet ownership looks different to everyone. Remember cultural differences, right? Some people, and still to this day, like animals live in and out. Maybe there are religious reasons they can't have pets inside the house or things like that. And they found an animal and they're looking to support someone else. So really, again, we don't ever want to judge. We just want to be there to support people who care about animals. And of course, there's always a potential to support at tabling events, community outreach. Those are things that Ashley and the volunteer team, even the foster team and community advocates team now, we're always looking for different events or community spaces where we can get in front of and not only talk about these programs, but potentially recruit fosters or volunteers that can support us in bringing more people in so we can offer more of these services to more pets and people in need. All right, great. We got to the end. It takes a community, guys. You know this. That's why you're here. We appreciate you for being a part of our organization, for volunteering, for fostering, whatever that looks like for you. Again, Safety Net might not be for you, but we did want to share about what this program is and this awesome work. I don't know, Marissa, if you can throw a stat out about how many animals we've helped over the last year or so far this year. Either or would be fantastic. She's like, no, I cannot.
I'm not sure. I have no idea. I'd say probably for this year, I think we've had close to 20, I would say, for the past couple of months.
That's awesome. I think 20 animals is really great because we're just getting to the end of April. And again, there's limited foster homes. So we're not going to be able to help everybody, but those are 20 animals that maybe didn't have another outcome. So I'll look at stats too and pull those for 2024 because I know we have those numbers and we'll also include that in our follow-up email. All right. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Bree, so much for joining us today. We so appreciate you for presenting on this topic. And thank you, volunteers, again, for your patience as we work through our difficulties. We appreciate you. For anybody that has to jump off, please feel free to do so. And if there's anybody else that wants to stick around and ask some more questions, feel free to do that as well. All right, I'm going to just pull up our participants so I can keep an eye on that. Looks like folks aren't leaving. So I'm going to go ahead then and say, do we have anybody who does have a question? If you want to come off mute or put it in the chat for me.
Hi, I put a question in the chat regarding the evaluation of the pets when they come in. And just wondering why the evaluation isn't done until you have a foster available. And I only ask that because the first 2 times I tried to do a safety net, a week or so went by and they said, they evaluated it and the pet was not good for the program. Had too much separation anxiety, things like that. So I had a couple of them, like 2 in a row that ended up being that way. And then my next 2 were great, but just wondering what the thought process is of waiting until you have a foster before you have them evaluated.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as you personally have seen that does happen sometimes where, we get the foster lined up, we schedule the intake, and then during the intake, either medically or behaviorally, they're not cleared to go to foster. Which can definitely be tough because I know that fosters get excited, and then if it doesn't pan out, it can definitely be disappointing. However, we're doing that way right now specifically because we don't want to end up in a situation where we schedule the intake, we get the animal in shelter, they're cleared for foster, and then they're sitting in shelter while we're trying desperately to find a foster because it can take a few weeks sometimes, especially for larger dogs specifically, which Melanie, I know you're very willing to take, which we're so thankful for. They can be harder to place. So we don't want them sitting in shelter and stressing them out, which can lead to behavior issues, or as we talked about before, with health issues that can become a stressor and cause problems down the line. So that's what we're trying to avoid there. We also aren't able to right now, we don't want to do an intake, have them go back to their owner while we try to find somebody, because the owners are already dealing with so much. There's just a few other issues that could pop up there as well, behavior or health. We things happen and people are already in these really difficult situations. So we're trying to walk the line and be mindful of everybody involved. And that's kind of where we fall in to be best considerate of everybody.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my question, is why couldn't they bring them in, evaluate them, go back and go, okay, I know for sure someone could take my dog if, a foster, came up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a tough one, but yeah, just I mean, we would still have to then re-examine, redo the intake to bring them in anyway, to make sure, especially medically at that point. So for now, that's what works best.
Great question, though.
Yeah,
Love
thank
that
you.
that you
Thank
brought that
you.
up, because that's a good question, because you would think it would
Yeah.
be the other way, but really trying to be considerate of the pet and the owner so they don't have to make as many trips, because usually, like she said, those hardships. And then two, don't want to find that we can take the animal but then don't have a placement. So it's kind of two things that we're trying to work through there. Any other questions? Let me look at the participant list again. It looks like we still have about 10-ish people in here. You can either message in the chat or come off mute or raise your hand if you know that. If you come off mute, I'm kind of scrolling through so I can see you guys and I can call your name. If we don't have any other questions today, that's also okay. Or if you have questions, but you don't think about them until after this meeting today, you know who to email. Any one of us on here will make sure our contact information again is in that follow-up email. So you get a link to the recording, any resources that we have, links that did not work today, anything else that you know, we went over that we want you to have, we'll make sure you have that. We'll make sure we provide that 1-866 Humane number. Some people ask for the flyers, including a digital copy. We can make sure that goes out there. You can always stop by the shelter too and ask to pick up. Usually we have some of those on site, or email one of our volunteer coordinators and we can get that set up for you. Not seeing any more. Oh, do we got one more question?
Yeah, I see one more. I'd be happy to take that one too. So the question is, do fosters provide any sort of updates to pet owners while in the safety net program? Yes and no. So the foster provides updates to the foster team. So you would send that over to myself and Laura, pictures, how the animal is doing, all that good stuff. And then we send it over, or we send it to the community advocates team, who gets it sent over to the owner, so that they know how their pet's doing. And it helps so much when they get those updates.
I think sometimes it's what gets them through.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're already going through it and then they have to like willingly, yes, they're excited that their animal is going to be cared for, but can you imagine how scary it would feel to give up your pet to a stranger while you're already going through something so like traumatic yourself, and now you have to part ways and you're like, but this is my buddy, my animal helps me get through and cope, and now I'm giving, like, we know you guys are great. We trust you. That's why we're asking you guys to do this stuff with us, but they have to take a leap of faith, really. So getting those updates throughout when we can give them are really crucial and critical to helping both the pet and the owner be successful throughout this whole process. All right, great questions, guys. Thanks again so much for attending. Allie, if you want to go ahead and stop that recording for me. Appreciate everybody who stayed on a little bit extra. Again, thank you so much to our guest speakers. We so